Hi, this is Rob from Brittle Iron Gym. I wanted to give a quick recap of my chest workout today. When training chest, my main focus is to isolate my chest away from my triceps. I have short upper arm bones, so that typically means that any non-converging chest press is going to be very tricep involved. So a non-converging press would be any press where your hand width is fixed the full time. So you would think of like pressing with a barbell or a machine, again, where the hand width stays the same. An opposing option would be a converging press, which would be a machine that actually your hands would come inward as you would press forward. So there are machines that do that, but then the option I use here is to use a lot of dumbbells. So you'll notice in my chest workouts, I use a lot of dumbbells compared to a barbell. And the benefit of that is with dumbbells, I can think of coming down nice and wide, and then as I'm pressing up, I would press inward. I always want to keep the dumbbell outside the width of my shoulder, so there's always like an outward force kind of pulling my arm bone apart, which is going to activate the chest. So I use a lot of converging options, and in our home gym here, the best one is a dumbbell, but when I go to commercial gyms, I'll try to find a converging chest press machine if I can. Another way to make sure that you isolate your chest away from your triceps is to do a lot of chest isolations first. So you'll notice in my workout, I always do a chest fly first. Sometimes I'll do two. The point of that is that if I pre-fatigue my chest, and then I go into any pressing motion, whether it's converging or non-converging, if my chest is already pre-fatigued, that means that it will fail first in the movement before my triceps would fail or before any other muscle would fail. So that way, whatever I'm doing becomes a maximal chest stimulus, not a maximal something else stimulus. A good way to think of this is if I was doing deadlifts and my grip wore out and I couldn't hold the bar anymore, I wasn't doing deadlifts then to the maximum of my deadlift muscles, I was doing deadlifts to the maximum of my grip. So you want to make sure that whatever fails first is the targeted muscle. So in order to ensure that my chest fails first, I always do chest flies first, and then I also try to do a converging style of chest press before I would do a non-converging style. So sometimes in my workouts, I'll do a barbell press, but I typically will do that second or last in the training. That way I've always done my flies first or my dumbbells first, so then my chest is more fatigued going into the barbell movement, and that ensures that the barbell movement is more of my chest actually reaching failure. I'll do the same thing with dips. So you'll notice always my dips are at the end of the workouts, so that way my chest is pre-fatigued and it gets a better stimulus into the chest rather than just the triceps. So there's the background of what I think of when I put together a chest workout. So for today, I did a seated chest fly on our Sorinex Apex rack. One of the things I love about a wide cable stack option where the two stacks are like 8 feet apart is the closer you are in between the stacks, the more inner chest stimulus you'll get. So doing that seated version where the bench is pushed back more so between the stacks, that's going to make sure that when I'm squeezing as I'm coming in together, it actually gets harder and harder and harder and harder as I would come to the midline, and that activates the inner part of the chest. And then when you do dumbbell flies or dumbbell presses against gravity, the hardest portion of the movement is going to be when you're most stretched, and that's going to target more so the outer chest. So I like doing a cable fly mixed in with whether I'm doing presses with dumbbells or flies with dumbbells to make sure I always mix that cable in. So I'm always mixing both the inside and the outside of my chest. So I did the seated cable flies, and then I found a 16 to 20 rep max. I tried to do 20. I think when I watched the video back, I only did 19. So I did a 19 rep max, and then I used that same weight and I supersetted it with a standing version of cable flies, where I would do a set of 10 to 14 reps immediately into dumbbell presses, and I just used that same 16 to 20 rep max weight on all 3 sets of the dumbbell presses. So even though the chest flies were killing my pressing strength, I forget how many reps, I think I got 18 on the first, and then I think 15 and 15 or something like that on on the second and third sets of the presses. So your reps will go down on those presses, but it's a really cool stimulus and it's a nice mental challenge to see if you can prevent how far down the rep count goes from supersetting those standing chest flies before the presses. So that's the background. If you give this a try, I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching.